Good afternoon and welcome wherever you're watching. This is Future Journalism Today Live, and today we have Olivier Clairouin, the Deputy Editor-in-Chief from Le Monde, from the newspaper from France. And we're so happy that you're joining us live today, but it could also be that you're watching this later on. It's all totally fine. Please, if you do have any questions, put them in the live chat over there. And we'll be looking at the live chat and try to see if Olivier is able to answer these questions. And don't forget to subscribe, because this is a YouTube channel and we need subscribers. So please do. Now, you might ask, what do we have in store? What is this show about? I will show you right away. Let me switch to the screen before I introduce Olivier. On the show today, as said, we have Olivier Clairouin, and he is the Deputy Editor-in-Chief of Le Monde. And you get to know Olivier a bit more better in his next 30 minutes and what he did before and what he does currently at Le Monde. He has brought some interesting tools. He's going to unbox something which he'll explain later about a carbon footprint calculator for Le Monde Productions. And he will be showing us a data visualization tool they're using at Le Monde, which they've built internally, if I'm not mistaken, but we'll ask Olivier in a bit. And then he has some advice about what journalists should stop doing, but also what you should be doing as of tomorrow, what you should start. So we end on a positive note. And of course, as I've said, there's the live Q&A. So please do ask your questions in the live chat, and we might be able to ask them to Olivier, and he might be able to answer them. So again, welcome for joining us here on the third episode of Future Journalism Today Live, today on November 12th. A bit about Olivier, but first let's get him on and say hello, and I have to unmute him. Hi, Olivier.
Hello, how are you?
Good, I'm good. Bonjour.
Bonjour.
Ça va, and that's as far as my French goes, more or less. You are in confinement, more or less, right? Lockdown?
Absolutely, second lockdown and enjoying it. Woo.
Yeah, enjoying it. There's a little bit of, I think, cynicism there, but we will talk a bit later on. Olivier, for the people who don't know you and for our fans of the show, let me introduce you a bit with some facts I have looked at and found about you. And please do correct me if I'm wrong. You are currently the Deputy Editor-in-Chief, but before that you were heading the video department, right? And you became
Absolutely.
You became Deputy Editor-in-Chief a little bit over a year ago now?
A year ago, absolutely. Yeah.
Okay, great. And I think with a team of 5, you're now responsible for the website editorial policy, about 100 people approximately. Yeah. Okay, that's good. And you used to head the video department. You will show us a bit more, tell us a bit more about that, with motion designers and journalists, right? Building the Le Monde identity on YouTube, for example.
Mm-hmm.
Okay, and now Le Monde gets around 100 million visits a month, has 500 plus journalists working lately, more or less, right? Circulation of 300,000 in print, I presume. And your editor-in-chief, Luc Brunner, right? If I pronounce right?
Absolutely. Your French accent is perfect. You know that.
Thank you, Olivier. And he tweeted lately that between, and I'll just paraphrase, Le Monde, between 2018 2019, Le Monde reduced the total number of articles by 14%. And more journalists, almost 500 now, more time to investigate. Result, web audience has grown strongly. And the distribution, print and web, went up 11%. That's quite impressive, Olivier.
Well, thank you. That's not only thanks to me at all. But
to give our viewers some context. But it is interesting. And the same goes for YouTube. I think you've got over 900,000 subscribers. And you told me earlier when we were preparing this live show, you said, we've also produced less on YouTube. We used to maybe do 100 videos, and now we do just 15 per month, and that is also paying off. So really interesting. And I would like to show people a little bit about how Le Monde looks like. This was, I think, 2 weeks ago when Macron announced the second national lockdown. This was what's shown at Le Monde the live online. And this is a feature with a live blog, and this is something. Do you want to already explain a bit what's going on here, or?
Sure, yeah. Live blogs are something that we actually do a lot on the website because it's a great tool to when something's happening, like breaking news. It's a great tool to provide people with the last info, but also, and that's, I guess, one of the most important things, to answer their question. Like you see in the upper part of your screenshot, you can ask questions, and the journalist will receive them, and that gives us an idea. Well, we can say we don't know that yet, for instance, because sometimes you have all the questions coming back again and again about one specific thing that they saw online that is not accurate yet. So we can say we can't actually say that this is true. So we can, and we also that also provides us with information about what people want to know, and provides us with ideas of reporting and things like that.
Yeah, I've done another screenshot of that, and there's live questions from readers and viewers answered by your journalist. I've translated this, so this is an example of what was happening, I think, right after the announcement of the second national lockdown. And you told me earlier on that there is something that you do, say, a breaking feed, and you do a more of a, how do you say, community feed, or right?
Yeah. Actually, usually it when we open a live blog, it combines both these aspects. But it's true that during the first lockdown, we did a live blog for 83 days in a row. So that was huge work. We had like a 24 hours shift of people doing the live blogs. And after a few days, we realized that people were just like stuck into their houses and trying to find ideas of what to do, and maybe get a little bit of the steam off. So we decided to open another live blog, but really dedicated to invite people to chat with psychiatrists or humorists, or provide them with like good ideas of recipes or stuff like that. So just to break down between the let's say worrying news, and the comfy news, I would say.
Exactly, and so the more functional, practical, factual news on the one hand side, and the more maybe a cultural, well-being, human, comfy news. You do two different feeds, different lives.
That's what we did for this time, but usually you can find both the aspects in one live. It really depends on what we're talking about. Like for instance, we did one for 6 days in a row last week for the US election. We started it on Tuesday at noon, and we finished it on Sunday. And it's true that after a few days, the journalists allow themselves sometimes to break jokes, or to kind of build a personal relationship with the readers, because we were just like waiting for a result for 3 days, and sometimes we're just like, this is getting really long, and so we make jokes about it, and people usually like it.
Yeah, that's an interesting, and you see that, I think, with many other newsrooms doing that. I heard something from the KPCC that did the LAist for people in the Los Angeles metropolitan area. They were sourcing all kinds of reader questions and try to answer them, factual, but also the comfy category, as you did, and I think you can see it more and more. But it's a really interesting example that you do it sometimes in parallel, and in this respect, so on the front page, I think, right on the web. Yeah. And then I've got a screenshot of your current YouTube page. As said, more than 918,000 subscribers. Really impressive. And you used to head the video department, right? Can you tell us a bit more? This was a screenshot taken 2 weeks ago.
Yeah, that's how I got into Le Monde. I was a video journalist originally, so I shot and edited videos, and I was head of the video department for 4 years. And I guess if I had to summarize my job at that time, with the idea that there was a video department, we produced a lot of different videos, but people didn't know that we existed, because our main problem was our identity. We produced too many different videos, interviews, reporting, sometimes Reuters images editing, and quick videos. We didn't know exactly what we wanted to do. And so what I did with my colleague David at that time, we decided to only focus on one specific type of videos, so explainers. Our model in the journalism world is Vox.com, the American media. And so we only did that. Just first of all, because we realized that when we did this type of videos, that's the one that people remember the most. We did a few explainers, so we said, okay, let's only focus on that. And it's also because regarding to Le Monde identity, usually people expect from Le Monde to take a step back and take the time to give context and background and explain what's happening, and not always be running after what's happening. So
the breaking news.
It just became natural to do that. And so we focused on that with a new visual identity. We switched back to YouTube, where you can actually find this type of videos. Usually that's really the cradle of the explainers videos is YouTube, I think. And so when I was nominated in charge of the video, we were, I think, 7 or 8 people, and when I left, we had 14 journalists and motion designers. So it worked pretty well.
Wow. Yeah. So Le Monde really backed your efforts and invested in the future of the video journalism. And it's interesting, as you said, that people expect to take maybe some more perspective, to take some time to explain, to analyze, to explain what's happening. So that really fits the sort of identity of the newspaper as well. And you try to implement it on a visual level, but also on the level of content, about the kinds of productions you do and you do not, right?
Yeah.
And I have an example of that. But first, I would like to shout out our viewer who is called MF576 Tube. I love the term comfy news. Well, I think we do too, and I think Olivier. So thank you for this comment.
You're welcome. You can thank my my weird English.
Okay, but that's totally fine. Now, the last screenshot I would like to show is this one. Maybe you can tell me a bit about. This is from Les Décodeurs, and if I'm not mistaken, that's your fact-checking department, right?
Mm-hmm.
And as you said, is this an explainer? I think this was about. Is it pensions or?
No, it's about polls. Can you actually trust polls? And that's actually when you see what happened in the US election. I think it's a question you can still ask. This is a series of videos that we made with the Décodeur department. So Arthur was hired to do this kind of videos. And I talked about explainers, but it's true that we are slowly also moving to new types of videos, which are more of visual investigations.
So that we will see more of visual investigations on the. And is it are you just aiming at a French language audience, or do you have any plans to go more international? Because I saw Canada and obviously French speaking regions, maybe in Africa, are also visiting you a lot. The website, obviously.
Yeah. We do have a few visitors from Maghreb, for North African countries. We don't have a clear strategy regarding the English language. We tried to translate a few of them, and some of them, actually, if you look at the most viewed, most watched videos on our YouTube channel, I'm pretty sure it's still an English one about the Syrian war that we did something like 5 or 6 years ago. And of course, there are far more people who want to watch videos in English, so that's logical. But the thing is that our channel is in French. So if we wanted to have a whole strategy in English, I guess we should open another channel, and we don't have the means to do that right now. And I have to admit also that we try sometimes to translate videos ourselves with our very French accents, and a lot of time the comments were not really nice with us.
Okay. So as you said, you might have to open up another channel, and it needs another way of producing and hire maybe even some more people. And very interesting. And thank you for showing us and telling us a bit more about those live feeds with the comfy news, and also what you do on YouTube. And let's ask our viewers to, after we end this live show, to check out your YouTube channel, right? And at Le Monde, and see what you have in store for them. If also this English Syrian investigation as well. So thank you for this was the introduction, Olivier.
Okay.
But we're already went straight in. I see there are no other comments, but can you tell us what you do on a day-to-day basis when you obviously are you allowed to go in the newsroom right now with this second confinement, the second lockdown?
Well, if you have the right paperwork, you can. And
Okay.
yes, I did last week for the US election because it was a big event, so it was far easier to coordinate with by being actually physically present in the newsroom.
Yeah. Okay, so you are allowed to go there when you have the right papers, and you say it's easier to work from being on the floor, right? And are those other reporters, editors also allowed to go?
Yeah.
Yeah.
But most of them don't. We do respect the lockdown, but I have to admit that sometimes if you can actually see people in person, it makes things a bit easier.
Yeah. Okay. Hey, we have a question from a live viewer, and it seems like the last name is French. Maybe you can pronounce. And her name is Anne Marie, and then you could the last again.
Vandeville, I guess. If you say it with a French accent.
Yeah, and she says she's a big fan. I think it's the third show she's watching live. So thank you, Anna Maria, for joining us. Can you tell? I'm reading it. Can you tell something about not having a paywall? What is the business strategy? Do you not have a paywall on your online presence?
Well, we have freemium strategy, so you do have some articles. I don't know the exact percentage, but some articles that are free, and the others have the other you have to pay to actually see beyond. I think it's 1,200 characters, and it actually works pretty well because our subscriptions are increasing. So I guess that's a good strategy. But we still want, that's something that is really important, especially for the web journalists. We still want to keep a free part, like the live blogs, for instance, are not obviously behind a paywall, and I think that's something that should stay like this.
Yeah. Okay. Well, I hope, Anne Maria, this answers your question. Shall we go to another question, because there's one more, and it's from Alice Palussière. Hello, Olivier. What are your morning readings? What media outlets do you find particularly inspiring? Interesting.
Well, I read a lot of different things in the morning, but well, the French medias, of course, the big ones. So Libération, Le Parisien, Le Figaro, because I have to know what the others say. They are direct competitors, so I have to check them. But I guess I use The Guardian, New York Times, BBC as well. I use The Espresso from The Economist. The morning. Actually, it's kind of close to what we do also at Le Monde with La Matinale. It's something that it's an edition that you receive every morning on your phone. Quartz, the Quartz newsletter every morning. The FT newsletter as well is pretty good, I think.
So these are all newsletters you check in the morning. Maybe
yes, I read a lot in the morning because you have to get ideas to when you launch the day, when you talk to people, and you brainstorm. So, and also I also need to mention one that I really like, even though they are not. I think there should be more people using it. It's called Le Réveil. It's it's by Courrier International, which is a magazine about international news with a translation of international articles coming from different newspapers. And every morning they do also some kind of edition, but like really focusing on what's happening in other parts of the world. And usually they have pretty good articles translated in French. So
okay,
it's good to get a bit out of the English speaking world, because I don't speak that many languages, so I like this website for that.
Yeah, well, I hope you answered Alice's question.
And I didn't mention all the videos as well. There are many YouTube channels that I follow, but it would be too long.
if we look you up on YouTube and subscribe to the channels you subscribe, we might get an idea. Probably.
You would find, you will find media outlets and lots of electronic music too. So you decide whatever you want.
Yeah, oh, that's good. That's an added bonus for Alice then. So before we go into the next segment, Stop It Journalist, maybe you could sketch us a little bit of your day, how a regular day looks like at the newsroom at Le Monde for a deputy editor-in-chief. Just a quick sketch.
Yeah, that's. I don't know if I have a typical day, because the thing is that our job, I say our because we are actually 6 editor-in-chief at Le Monde.fr, because it's a big team. But I guess it's there is no typical day, because we have like 3 jobs combined together in our job. So I can basically break that into 3 parts, if I may explain. The first one is what we call chef d'actualité. So you are responsible of what's happening on the website during a specific period of time during the day. So all the editorial choices are yours. You decide if we should talk about something or not, who should talk about it, and how we should talk about it. You contact the different departments, etc.
So what, who, how? Yeah.
Exactly. You're the one, for instance, who send a push on. You decide if you send a push on the smartphones or not. So that's chef d'actu. Chef d'actualité. The second part of my job is more about anticipation and coordination. It's, for instance, I mentioned the US elections. That was a big part of my job for the past weeks, to get in touch with the international department and the different journalists who work on that matter, and see what we should write about and how we will cover it for a long time, like we did. With the live blog, for instance. And I guess the third part is more about the long run, who we want to be for the coming years coming, and what type of tools we need, what type of people we need. And like, for instance, one of my colleagues is working on our new live blog tool right now, and hopefully we will have it soon. Another of my colleagues is working on something called Enrichisseur, that I might show you after if you guys want. So it's also about that, designing and just thinking about how our newsroom should work.
So you have actualité, and then you have some sort of scenarios about things that are evolving or you might anticipate, and then you have the long view, right? Those 3 segments. How about how much of your time do they consume? Is it evenly distributed as well? If you have an 8-hour shift, I don't know, do you do 3 hours of this, 2.5 of that, and 2.5 of long term?
We have shifts, but for instance, this week I'm working on morning shifts. So I wake up at 5:15 and I work I'm working officially at 7 until the beginning of the afternoon during the whole week. And if I want, I can do some other stuff for work in the afternoon, but I can also sleep. Sometimes it's good to sleep a little bit. So we alternate between this type of jobs.
Yeah, I can understand. Okay. So I want to say, before we go into Stop It, let's do some unboxing for us, because you mentioned I might show something. So I have this small leader here. As you can see, it's time for some unboxing. Do you want to start with the carbon footprint calculator or the LM Wiki?
Well,
which are the things would you like to show
I'm
first?
going to show you the LM Wiki right now, since I mentioned it earlier.
And I'll just check if someone has a question for you in the live chat, and if you can.
Can you actually see?
Yeah, we see. So there are no questions yet, so please go ahead.
So it's just a small tool that the decoder department created.
Yeah,
the fact checker department, absolutely. The idea is that they provided journalists at Le Monde with very simple tools to make their articles more richer. I don't know if you can say that in English actually, but for instance, you have, so that's a new version. I wanted to show you the maps, but the maps are actually being rebuilt right now, so I can't show you that, but I can show you, for instance, the charts. So let me just take that so that I'm staying in the same tab.
Grumpy charts.
Grumpy charts. It's a very easy tool that allows journalists to create charts if they have the data and put them into snippets that they can actually put in the articles without, having to ask a data journalist or having to ask a designer to create that chart. It's pretty easy. So like if I click on this one, for instance, that's a number of bikes that were seen in Paris. So now the Paris city provides us with this type of data. And so you can see the different, I don't know if you can see my mouse.
Can see.
So they design it so that it's pretty easy to put the data in it. If you don't even have to be a master at spreadsheets. You just put the data in 2 columns, and then their tool will help you verify that everything is in order, and then you can actually straight from that create the graphic that you want with the different types of graphic.
And if I may interrupt you, you did develop this internally, so it's only for Le Monde journalists, right?
It's only for Le Monde journalists,
Yeah, and was there no actual, say, no piece of software or a suite which was ticking all your boxes because you've developed it yourself? And I know there are a lot of other sort of online tools or software-based tools where you can do data visualization as well. Do you know why you chose to develop this internally?
Well, not the idea. I think was not to rely on, not to outsource it, so that we have something that we can put all the data that we want in it. It's secure, and that's something that is quite important. For instance, when you're working on leaks or these kind of things.
Yeah,
and it's also because that's a tool that we can improve on all the time. Like for instance, for the live blog right now, we are relying on an external solution, and when we have problems, sometimes it takes time to get in touch with people who work for that company. So I think that's far. If you have the ability to create your own tool, you should do it, because
So it's speed, security, as you say, and maybe independence as well. Yeah, it's interesting. And does it get used a lot since when did it become available to journalists?
That's a good question. Probably 2014 or something like that.
Okay.
Yeah, but it's evolving all the time.
Yeah.
So like, let me go back. If you can see, for instance, here you have a new tab called the Enrichisseur. That's tool I was talking about. And basically, the idea of the Enrichisseur is that at Le Monde, we produce...
Can you translate? My French is not that well.
Enrichisseur, I would say... I don't know.
Maybe the audience can help us. So put your translation in the live chat if you're watching this.
It's basically the idea that when you write an article, it's just plain text, right? But you may want to
enricher,
I don't know,
probably
enricher,
media,
of course.
Okay,
you may want to add video or graph or pictures or whatever, and since we produce about 250 and 300 articles per day, we tend to forget what we do. After a whole year, you feel, oh yeah, we actually wrote that, we made that video 5 years ago, and it's still accurate. And this tool allows someone to, when he's writing or she's writing an article, to say, what do we have, for instance, about Trump? And you can see that you have 2 videos about Trump that you can put in your articles, and
if you say Trump and Bannon and McConnell, and you put these 3 words, and you might filter it out to a narrow selection.
And this tool was actually designed by one of my colleagues and put online about 3 or 4 weeks ago. So it's brand new, and you don't have everything in it, but it's pretty useful.
Yeah, interesting, cool, and thank you for showing us what you use internally. And then you had another thing, right? About the, and I'll just put in the the little animation again. So because I always after the live recording, I put this in segments. So another unboxing, and now you're going to show us the carbon footprint.
It's not a wow tool, but I think it's really meaningful. So let me show you first. So we at the video department last summer, so 2019, we decided to, with Facebook, create a new video series about about ecological matter, global warming, biodiversity, and these kind of things. It's called Plan B. The idea is to talk about solutions and what people try to do to fight those problems. And we actually, it's my colleague Charles who came up with the idea that we had to show that our journalists were also concerned about what they're talking about, and we decided to show at the end of every reporting the carbon footprint of the report that people just watched.
So what we see in the right.
Yeah, here, the bottom right, absolutely. And I'm going to show you
the
tool.
I'll add it to the stream again.
To calculate that, Charles just created, it's just a simple spreadsheet, and you can find all the different reports on the left part. And you have so the type of transportation that they use. We love trains in France, subway, plane, etc. He also put into account the electricity that they use, the meals that they have, the battery, the electricity used by computers, cameras, and all that. So that at the end of every reporting, the journalist would add the data so that we could have an idea of the carbon footprint. And
so the travel kilometers by train or car, and
exactly.
kind of you use to do the editing and stuff like that.
The idea was just to show that the first one was to show that the viewers that we actually care about what we're talking about, and the second idea was to learn from that and then maybe adapt the way we did our reporting. So, for instance, they did try to, take trains all the time, never take car, even though they had to a little bit, never take plane, even though they had to twice. And you actually realize in the total carbon footprint that the planes is the far, of course, worst. It's worse than anything. And for instance, if, how in journalism, people want to go fast all the time, and usually they go somewhere in the morning and they come back in Paris, if you're Parisian, at night. They also decided more often than before to just pay for one night in where the journalist was reporting, and make him come back by train the day after, even though that's not usually what you do, but just to be sure that he won't take the plane and he will, that's okay, it will take more time, but that's fine with us. At least the carbon footprint is better.
Yeah, so you get more conscious about your productions in that sense. Yeah, interesting. And is this something you could share in the future? Not like your internal wiki might not be, but this is something. If other journalists at other newsrooms could be print or pure players, I would definitely like to use Olivier, but of course your colleague built it. The Le Monde carbon footprint calculator. Is it something you usually
actually,
these kind of things?
Yeah, actually, Charles created a public version that you can find online. He wrote a small article explaining why they did that and how they did that, and he put another version that people can actually use freely. Yeah.
Cool. And dear audience, I will share this in the show notes when the live recording is over. So thank you, Olivier, for sharing this with us. And now we go into our last segment, and this is, and let me get the banner there. It's Stop It, You Journalists. Stop It, Journalists, and you have some advice, I think, Olivier, right? What should journalists stop doing?
Yeah, I try to think of something. It's not always easy, but there is something that I noticed regarding videos, but I think you can apply it to articles as well. It's I think journalists need to pay attention not to use always the same techniques when they tell a story. And I know about videos because with my colleague David, a few years back, we created those guidelines to create the good explainer, because you have some narrative techniques that they work, so we kind of put that formally on Google Doc. but after a while we realized that our journalists tend to always use the same sentence in their videos, which went like this: Mais alors, pourquoi? Mais alors, pourquoi? And so why? And so why? And it always the same tone, and it became a joke at the end because you could actually edit all the videos and put all the sentences together. Which it's okay actually. It's fine. It's just I think we need to pay attention to that. It's like that image I used last time when we talked about it. It's like having a good recipe. There is that you're mastering, I don't know, like risotto or carbonate flamande or whatever French dish. You love it, but if you do it all the time, if you cook it all the time, people will get bored of it. So you need to pay attention not to always do the same thing, I think.
But when it comes to innovation, this is a very interesting process, because I think what you're describing is, I think to a lot of people, is probably familiar. So you try to innovate, you come up with something new, which is very experimental, and then you evolve it and incrementally make it better. Then you found something that actually works. So you write your sort of format, your Google Doc of best practices, and then you get wary, and maybe your audience gets wary as well. Like, and now what? Like, and then. So how do you know when you should change the sort of the right recipe? Because it works in a way, and then after a while it doesn't work. So where's the tipping point, do you think?
That's a very good question. I guess a good way of knowing that is to look at the comments and see if the feedback is still good, or if people are sick of it. That's on YouTube. That's something very valuable that we have on YouTube, is that people do comment and do say they think it's shitty or pretty good. And then I guess you need to trust yourself. I think it's something that you need to keep in mind. You have to reinvent what you do all the time. Otherwise, you get rusty.
Okay, so that's your advice. To recap: stop it, journalist. If you found the right recipe, please change it every once in a while, because it will get wary, and take a look at what the audience, how they perceive it, how they respond to it, and you will feel what and if you need to change, right?
That's a good summary.
Now we want to reverse that, and you have some advice on what journalists should start doing. Can you tell us a bit?
Yeah, what I thought about is this time is not regarding videos, it's more about management. Because we journalists tend to think that newsrooms and media are not like other companies. They are special. They have their own way of working, which is true in some extent. But I think that it's still important to try to see how other types of companies work and function, so that you can get idea, get inspiration, and maybe try them in your newsroom. For instance, I like some of the Agile method tools that people use a lot in marketing companies or in developers departments. There is one especially that I used in the video department, and I'm trying to implement as well in the newsroom now. It's I don't know what it's called exactly, but it's a keep, drop, start puzzle exercise. So basically, you
evaluating your process, right, and the way your team works.
You gather your team in one room, and you ask them to go on the board and say, okay, what should we keep doing? What should we start doing? What should we stop doing? And what doesn't make sense right now? And I think it's a pretty useful tool because, well, first of all, it involves everyone, so people will feel more involved because as a team.
Do they write it on Post-its? This is what we should keep.
They write it on Post-it and put them on a board. Yes.
Yeah. Okay.
And then at the end they have to also collectively vote for the what should be the next aims for the coming month, 2 months, 3 months, until the next time they actually gather together again.
So first post you categorize, and then you vote with stickers, dot stickers or something.
And that's I think one of the good aspects of it is that it creates some kind of sense of belonging, because they collectively decide, okay, this is what we want to work on for the coming month. And the third, I think, advantage of this method is that everyone speaks. And in a team, you always have some people who talk more than the others and tend to attract all the attention. But with this exercise, people have, like, let's say 3 minutes each, and everyone has to speak, which is, I think, pretty good to get new ideas out there, and so that
not
people
just the
don't
ones
feel
who are
frustrated.
not the ones who are quite dominant or most vocal, but everyone has to speak if they have frustrations or positive things to add. Yeah, that's so everyone has the sort of is on the same level and has the same authority and the same influence.
Exactly.
It's an interesting method. Yeah. So this is your advice to journalists. Try to evaluate in this matter, because then you make it more objective and neutral than let's do a quick roundup and just the regular usual suspects. They say something and then the other one emails it at night, and it's always the same thing, right? So
and I did not invent anything. It's like really common in some companies, but when you talk about this kind of exercise as to journalists, they don't know this kind of tools, and I think that's too bad.
Yeah, and I think what you're referring to is the Scrum. You can't call it a method officially, but it's Scrum, like from the rugby, right? The Scrum method, the Agile method, and then what you're referring to is, I think, the retrospective, where you look back on the process and then have this as an evaluation tool: keep, drop, add, improve. I think, right? Yeah.
That's what I was looking for, and as usual, you phrase it more perfectly than me.
Well, thank you. Yeah, but it's so nice that you were sharing this piece of advice. And with that, we've come to more or less to the end of the show, Olivier. So I would really like to thank you. There is a question, one that's not really a question, but it's a really nice remark. Go, Lawrence. And I hope he means you as well, Olivier. And then for later, Anne-Marie van der Wiel, as you said it, asks, how does your video team look? How many designers, animators, employed, freelance? Good question.
Yeah, the team changed a little bit in the past month, but I might not have the numbers right, but you have basically 10 journalists and 3 motion designers, and we have some we have a lot of freelance for motion designers, because usually they work in other types of companies and they are not specialized into news. Another reason is that media usually don't pay that well motion design compared to ads, all these kind of things. So I completely understand that they want to work in other parts as well.
So, but when they do want to work for you, they do that out of, could it be status, or because you're a good authority, or do you pay them the same fees as they get when they work for other companies?
No, usually, it's because of the status, of course, I guess, but also because there is more, I guess, that's what they say. And I agree with that. There is more meaning in working on a visual investigation about police brutality than I don't know, designing an advertisement for running shoes.
Yeah,
I guess.
And to be the devil's advocate, you say we have journalists and we've got animators or motion designers. Do you don't consider the motion designers as a journalist?
They don't have the official status, but of course they are journalists. Like we can't work with any types of animators. We have to work with animators who are into it, who like news, who have who watch, who have ideas regarding news coverage, who watches what other media companies do, like New York Times with forensic architecture, or Vox, or this kind of thing. So they have this journalistic vibe. I don't know if I can put it this way, but
I think I know what you mean. And is it sort of the regular journalist comes up with the idea for the video or the animation, or is it a team effort where you start with, let's do something about how good is polling, how does polling works, like the example we saw in the beginning, and then they sit in one room or work from home, but then think about how to produce and what to tell? Or is it a journalist that's sort of briefing the motion designer?
Yeah, it's definitely teamwork. And I mean, we did sometimes the example, the way you just mentioned. But usually it's a teamwork, and it works far better when we have the time actually to get people to sit together and say, okay, that's the script that we have right now, and okay, how are we gonna animate and show we want? And usually you realize that the ideas, the visual ideas that you come up with directly change actually the way you wanted originally to tell the story, and it's you have to combine the two.
Yeah, so they're informing each other in that sense about what to do.
Yeah. Mm.
That's another question. We have a very lively audience, Olivier. You really have this vibe of eliciting these questions. Alice, again, do you have an idea of what department grew up the most? And I think it might be sort of, I don't know if it's to become tech savvy, or grew in numbers. The journalist workforce in Le Monde during the last years, fact-checking, politics, or anything else? A good question.
That's
I hope we answered
question.
Brian's question, by the way, and then you can think a bit more about this question. But
well, I guess we had new people in like many departments, but first of all, we had some departments that a few years back did not even exist. So obviously, Pixel, how can I describe Pixel in English? I would say internet culture department of Le Monde was created a few years ago. Les Décodeurs as well. The video department 8 years ago had one person, and now it's 14, 15. So I would say the digital departments grew really quickly, but we did hire a lot of people in politics and and economics as well. I don't know, pretty much everywhere, I would say.
You hired everywhere, right? Yeah. That's good, and I hope it gives a lot of inspiration to others, people that are watching or that watch you. That there is luckily still investment in people working for newsrooms doing journalism, because, as we all know, the context of the industry. So, but it's great that you have this sort of positive example about where you're innovating and how you do it and what you do. And I hope, Alice, that we answered your question. And Olivier, I would once again really would like to thank you for taking your time and talking a bit about advice to journalists, about the Wiki, about your carbon footprint calculator, which we will be sharing in the show notes later on, and about what you do with video and your current role. It was really interesting to get a sort of sneak peek into the work from home kitchen from a deputy editor-in-chief at Le Monde. So, Olivier, once more, thank you very much for your time.
Well, thank you for having me. And if you have viewers or people who just who have more questions, they can directly contact me through Twitter if they want, or by email.
It's Clairouin, right? At Clairouin on Twitter, and I will put that out in the show notes as well. And
my DM are open.
Yeah, DMs are open. It's good to know. And to the audience, I would say thank you for watching. Please join us in 2 weeks, because the timings has changed a bit. In 2 weeks, we have Rob Orchard and Marcus Webb from Delayed Gratification, or the Slow Journalism Movement, which make beautiful magazines. They will tell us all about data visualization, how they go about their journalism. Thank you for watching, and please do subscribe below. And again, Olivier, thank you for joining us today. And thank you for watching wherever you are, whenever you are watching this. And
thank you, everyone.
Cheers.